You feel this nervousness on the phone there?
Sir, I've been trying to make an urgent phone call up there.
Well, I don't think it's something I want to do on an overseas phone.
You gotta make some phone calls. Hang up the phone. Prank caller. Prank caller.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to Packernet After Dark. This is the call-in show of the Packernet Podcast Network. If you'd like to call in, if you'd like to participate in the show, please feel free to do so. The phone number here is 608-501-0718. New callers go directly to the front of the line. Doesn't look like we have any new callers today, but we got Garrett. What's going on, Garrett?
Hey, Ryan. It's Garrett from Southern Illinois.
What's up?
I just wanted to congratulate DK Metcalf on getting his wish for playing in a warm weather town and a team that's got a stable quarterback. So looks like a win-win for him.
Yeah, he nailed it.
On a serious note, I'm happy for Devontae going back to the West Coast. Playing for the LA Rams is just, I mean, he kind of saw the writing on the wall. He was going to go back and play where closer to his family. So, and he's closer to Taco Bell's out there. So I guess that's a win-win for him. I'm out.
Yeah, we'll see how it works out. I mean, look, I don't fully understand that whole thing. I don't want to say Devontae's not a competitor or anything like that because he always kind of has been, but I can't really respect the decision all that much when you decided you want to be close to home and you want to be with your friend and it was a disaster. And then you decided, well, I want to be with my friend again, so you go with Rodgers and it was a disaster. At what point do you say, you know what, I've made some poor decisions, I want to go win. Like, my time is almost up, I need to go win a Super Bowl. I'm not saying that's Green Bay. But to sit here and say, I just want to be on the West Coast, bro, you can have a house on the West Coast and play for a different team. You have plenty of money. Not to mention you're going to retire at any moment now, and you can go live on the West Coast for the rest of your retired life, which is going to be a very long time. So at this point, to basically be semi-retired, to say, look, I'll play because I want to keep collecting a paycheck and because I can probably keep collecting a paycheck, so why wouldn't I? But I don't really want to play anywhere that I don't want to be. I want to be on the West Coast. I want to be closer to my family. I want to be on the nice warm weather and all that stuff. I don't want to deal with cold or rainy or... I'm sorry, I don't massively respect that very much. So, I mean, if that's where he's at in his career, then congratulations. As far as I'm concerned, like I said, he's semi-retired. And I think some guys do that. It's not really about championships. It's just kind of I'm going to collect checks as long as I can, but I'm going to do it on my terms. And by my terms, I mean, it's going to be an environment that's going to make me comfortable. Because if I can't do that, I'd just rather not play and I'd rather retire. Semi-retired. Now, DK Metcalf said that he was essentially going to do this whole semi-retired thing, but at the end of the day, it was about money for him, which is the case for most of these guys anyways. They might have their initial intentions to be, whether it's semi-retired or I want to win championships or whatever it is, but you shake enough money at them and they come around. And at least that I can understand. Right, winning championships and making the most amount of money because this is my job, those two things both make a lot of sense to me. And I don't really care which direction you go. I think they both make sense. If you could do both, that's ideal. But I think they both make plenty of sense. What I don't necessarily get is what DK initially said, which is I want warm weather and I want a nice this and I want that. And bro, shut up. So look, if that's what Devontae wants to do, then that's fine. But I would rather have people here that are hungry, that want to win. And like I said, I think Green Bay is a good filter for that. People that don't really want that are not going to come here. People that want the warm weather and the this, that, or the other, they're going to get those types of people. Green Bay will never get those types of people because this isn't where you buy your vacation home unless you're A.J. Dillon.
Okay, so with DK leaving a void with Seattle and that they've already let go Lockett and they acquired Pittsburgh's second-round pick, I feel like this is the obvious choice for them to take a wide receiver in the second round. So I feel like we just got our first competitive team that's going to be going after an obvious wide receiver pick in the second round. I kind of hope that Green Bay can acquire another pick and maybe move up in the second ahead of them. So what you think?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, at this point, I feel like they haven't really addressed anything in free agency. I think, they like I said before, there's kind of a replacing what you lost element, which I think we did when you look at Stokes and probably Jair getting a corner, and then you look at Josh Myers and you look at Banks, even though it's not a one-to-one. I think that's basically what we're doing there. But in terms of upgrading what we have, they didn't do it. They didn't upgrade the corner position. They didn't upgrade the defensive tackles. They didn't upgrade the edge group. They didn't upgrade the offensive line. They didn't upgrade the wide receivers. And so every single one of those things is still a need. So, yeah, I mean, if they get a second-round wide receiver, great. But also, I mean, in the first round, I'm thinking edge is probably the biggest need, but that might not be available. And so by the time the second round comes around, if you didn't get an edge, that's probably the biggest need. And it's possible that you need a defensive tackle, and it's possible that you need a corner on top of needing a wide receiver. And, the problem is when you're a team that needs more premier players, the odds of you getting those players later on into the draft are tough. So by the end of the second round, whatever you didn't get, there's a decent chance you're just not going to get it, with the exception of, hopefully lucking out on another 4th round pick or 5th round pick or something. Maybe you get one lucky one, but that's also with the caveat that you're probably not going to be 2 for 2 in the first 2 rounds. So, maybe if you're lucky, when you're talking really good players, maybe 2, 1 is more likely, if any. I mean, if we're talking Edgerrin Cooper level, top 10 at the position in the NFL, I mean, maybe you get one of those. If you're talking, top 32, hopefully you get 2 of them. So then it becomes a question of, and again, I know this isn't how the draft works, but just as a thought exercise, is wide receiver one of the top 2? Because I know edge is one of them. Is wide receiver more important than defensive tackle? Is it more important than corner? Maybe, but I don't know. And the other issue is, how many times have we swung in the second round? So the odds are, even though we're probably going to get a good player, are they going to be one of the premier players that is above and beyond Jaden Reed or Christian Watson? Because that's what they need to be. And I don't know if they will be. But at the end of the day, we just got to realize that, the free agency sucked. We didn't get any of the trades we wanted. And again, I'm 99% sure Trey Hendrickson will not be a Packer. If that happens, I'll be doing backflips. Most of the other big guys just ended up going home, which sucks, but it means all we had left was free agency. Of the handful that maybe could have been, a true top tier player, I don't know if there were any, but of the ones, maybe 3-ish, none of them came to Green Bay. So whether it was due to outside factors or inside factors, we got nothing. And now you look at the draft and you realize, unless this is some kind of a historic, once-in-a-generation draft, the Packers are going to go into the season with either guys taking a big step forward to grow the team, or we're just going to have needs, which is fine because every single team has needs. But it just sucks that, I don't know if anything really gets upgraded. And so we just need people to play better, which, to be honest, is not that big of a deal. Again, we always look to outside factors to fix everything. Outside factors were less of a problem than inside factors. The absolute biggest problem with this team, and whether you agree or not, I don't care, was Jordan Love. If Jordan Love played better, whether injury or not, that's fine, I don't care. But the bottom line is, if Jordan Love gets back to what he was the second half of 2 years ago, this team is a Super Bowl contender. We could skip the draft. I don't give a damn about the draft. If Jordan Love can get back to being a top 5 quarterback, we are Super Bowl contenders. If he plays like he did last year, we might miss the playoffs. Free agency and the draft be damned. If the wide receivers continue dropping passes as much as they did last year, if injuries hit us as bad as last year, if our defensive line is as bad as last year, we're screwed. However, if our defensive line plays more like 2 years ago or 3 years ago or 4 years ago or any year pretty much in the history of the Green Bay Packers defensive line, with the exception of that one really bad Nick Perry, Clay Matthews year, then that's going to be a big upgrade. We also have a lot of young people. If Bullard can take a step, if Williams can take a step, if Morgan can step in and show what he can do, or if Sean Ryan can take a step, if Banks can stabilize the left guard spot while Elton significantly upgrades the center spot. I mean, this is really what we have to look to right now. And again, I know it's the offseason, so we hyper-focus on off-season things like free agency and the draft are going to be the saviors of everything, as if there's ever been a Super Bowl caliber team that won because of something that happened in the draft. The reality is we have a lot of players that need to just play better. And that's just going to be the story of 2025. I wish we had something more exciting this offseason to get excited about. There just isn't going to be much. And so, I don't know what's going to happen. I think there's a good chance the Packers... I don't know. I really don't. I don't know exactly. On one hand, I'm thinking, well, they might trade up because they're kind of desperate for edge. But if they do that, then we lose a second-round pick, and now the odds of us getting a premier player at the multiple positions that we need are even less. And we're trading up for a guy that, let's be honest, the hit rate is still going to be low of that person being like a premier pass rusher. So you're better off just waiting in that spot and taking as many swings as you can possibly make. On top of the fact that it's entirely possible that this is just one of the biggest letdown years in history where the Packers adhere to best player available and draft people that are, they end up taking a linebacker in like the 3rd round and other stuff that people just don't super care about, a running back in the 6th round. And by the end of it, this little checklist, these nice, neat, tidy little checklists that we come up with, the 1st round you have to draft this, and the 2nd round you have to draft, they're going to blow that up and everyone's just going to be pissed. And based on the way things are going right now, we are absolutely setting ourselves up to just be annoyed. And so the free agency period sucked. Free agency / trade market, all that stuff, it just was horrible. And now all we have is the draft. And I'm telling you right now, the draft is not going to save us. The draft isn't going to save anybody. There's nobody that's going to miss the playoffs that is going to go from missing the playoffs to winning the Super Bowl because of what happened in the draft. And that includes the Green Bay Packers. So, hate to be a giant wet blanket before the draft even gets here, but that's just the reality. And the guys that we draft are going to be projects, not because that's what Gutekunst likes to do, but that's what the draft is. It's about getting people and developing them. It's not about year one impact. And so I'm telling you on March 12th of 2025 that what this team needs is to play better than last year. The players that were on the team last year need to play better than they did last year, specifically the quarterback. And if he does, we're a great team. If he doesn't, we're a bad team. And that's as simple as it can possibly be. All right, let's take a break. We got room for one more call, but Beer Cheese has got 2 back-to-back. So rather than split them up, let's just take a break now.
Brian, Beer Cheese Benny, I'm freaking pissed.
All right.
All these other teams are getting better. All the teams in the division are getting better. Lions get DJ Reed for basically...
They got DJ Reed. They lost a guy that's almost as good as him, right? The Bears went out and got like 5 people. 4 of them are dog crap. I don't even know what the Vikings did. I know they signed a bunch of guys that are not good. Maybe they might have got a good one in there. I don't know. But I just it's so... I don't know. That whole thing that because they signed a bunch of people that have big names, they got significantly better. Look, the Lions got DJ Reed, who I like. But again, the guy that I like the second most, almost as much, was a Lion, and he's gone now.
Well, I mean, it was a pretty reasonable contract. And you look at it, what was it, 4 years, $48 million? Come on, man. And then Josh Sweat gone. All you guys are leaving, and we're doing nothing. So much for we need to ramp up our sense of urgency to win the Super Bowl. Come on, man. This is pathetic.
Well, and again, how many can you name? You listed 2. How many can you name that are fantastic football players? Because let's just say it's 5. What are the odds that we're one of the 5 teams? If your insistence is that we should have gotten like 2 of them, otherwise we didn't try, that's just being dishonest. Statistically, that's ridiculous. Because there's less than a 50% chance we get any of them. And saying that we should have gotten at least one of them, I mean, seriously, so DJ Reed, Sweat, the Milton Williams defensive tackle, who else? Who else in free agency? I don't know of a single other person that I think would make any sense. So that's 3. There is a 9% chance that we get one of those 3. I mean, listen, it's just basic statistics. I'm sorry. The odds are not in your favor of landing one of them, much less multiple of them. So you can have all the urgency you want. It doesn't change the fact that the odds of you landing one of them are low. It also doesn't change the fact that none of these guys are really very great players, as evidenced by, again, what did I say? There's 2 ways of looking at contracts, and everybody only looks at one way. in my mind, this is a great player, and then I see this low contract, therefore it's a steal, and we were stupid for not doing it. Why didn't anybody else offer more than that? 32 teams and 0 offered more than that. Why? If they were as good as everybody thinks, why did nobody offer more than that? That was the highest that any of the 32 teams would go for a chance. I mean, how desperate are some of these teams for pass rushers? How desperate are the Falcons for pass rush? How desperate are all these other teams that are right now in the draft looking at pass rushers that are desperate, and nobody would go a penny over that? Why? Is it because maybe they're not as good as we think? I know it would have been cool if we could have got them. But again, 9% chance that we get even one of those 3, and that's it. So this idea that it's unacceptable to not get them is just, in my opinion, it's silly.
It's embarrassing, man. Like, unless they get Hendrickson,
Well, it's embarrassing for who? For all 29 teams that didn't get them, or is it just the Pack? We're so singularly focused on the Packers, and this is where, again, I say too many Packer fans view there as only being 2 teams in the NFL. There's us and then the other team that is all 31 other teams. And those 3 went to the other team. We got 0, they got 3. That's very obviously not the case. There are 29 teams that didn't land them, and we're one of the 29. That is the majority position. Is that team, not to mention some teams lost those players. So that's an even worse position to be in. Imagine losing that player and then seeing how low of a contract that was. Imagine winning a Super Bowl with 2 of those guys and then watching them go out the door for low-ish contracts. Are they an embarrassing team? Are they that stupid and everything else? It's just the Packers that are embarrassing. I mean, this is the situation. There were almost no good players. The Packers probably tried to get them, and they didn't. DJ Reed went to Detroit. Maybe he wanted to. Maybe the Packers weren't willing to go that high on the contract. I don't really know what. Maybe they didn't think he was a good scheme fit. I have no idea. I don't know why they didn't go higher, but I also know nobody else did. We make it seem like everybody was willing to offer a bunch, and the Packers are the only ones that didn't want to. Nobody was willing to go over that price.
Shut up. I will shut up if he gets Hendrickson, makes that deal. Trade, whatever. I don't even care what it is, really, or what we have to give up. But everybody's getting better, man. And then we lost that dude to the kick off.
Almost nobody's getting better because there's no good players in the draft. Like I said, there's maybe 3, which means maybe 3 teams got better. If you want to say the Bears got better with Dahlman, you can, aside from the fact that he's a really bad pass blocker, which I don't... he's a 4th highest in PFF. Yes, because, again, they overweight run blocking. They massively overweight that. Pass blocking should be weighted way higher than run blocking, and if you can't pass block, you suck. I don't care if you're the best run blocker in the world. That's not how PFF operates. I think they view them as essentially equal, which is stupid. Dahlman is... I looked at it. Somebody was arguing with me. I looked at the pass blocking efficiency rates for Dahlman in Chicago. He ranked, I think, 27th the past year among centers, so there's roughly 32. I think the year before that he was 22nd, and then 2 years ago I think he was 30th, which was the last time he was healthy. So yeah, if that's some big slam dunk, and then that really tells you how bad of a free agent class this is.
Nicole, I forget his name. Is it Dewey Wingbow or I don't remember his name or how to say it. Sorry.
He's terrible.
So yeah, that's great.
No, he's awful. He's awful. He's a terrible football player. I know there were some Packers content creator saying Odenigbo is the guy. Packers need to get him. We went on, and this isn't just me after the fact saying so. If you listen to the show, we went over it. That's the thing. Like, you can hear me going through it and saying, I don't know. I don't know. I told you DJ Reed is about the only one I really want. Once we lost out on Max Crosby and Myles Garrett and all that stuff, it was like, I think DJ Reed is about it. You heard me, if you listen to the show, talk about Odenigbo and saying, I don't know what they're talking about. This guy's terrible. So, again, that's part of the other problem is, number one, again, the only 2 teams thing, and then number 2 is everybody that everybody else signs is brilliant. We signed 2 people. We signed a guard that is getting top money, but nobody views that as being a good thing. I don't either, by the way. I think we overpaid the guy. But it doesn't matter, because if it was somebody else, they got one of the top... I mean, Ian Rappaport said one of the best guards, or the best guard in this free agent class went to Green Bay. Do Packer fans care? No, they don't care because they find the negative reports out there, like PFF, and then they say, okay, he's not good. But when PFF says Dahlman isn't good, that doesn't count because PFF's stupid, especially when it comes to offensive linemen. Oh, okay, I see how it is. Got it. Odenigbo's bad.
But I don't get this, man. Like, acting like he has to pay for it out of his own pocket. Like, man, pride is one hell of a drug, man. He's too.
No, but you're wrong. He doesn't care about the money, which is why he's been at $0 or $10 million, whatever, however big the buffer is. He spends all the money every year. So again, I don't know why we don't ask questions from the other direction. We see all the money that's left over and assume that, well, he's just cheap and he doesn't want to spend money. Of course he wants to spend money. So then the question is, why didn't he? Why is this the first year ever that we're sitting here with like $30 million? Why? Don't give me these ridiculous conspiracy theories that he's cheap. Well, he just wants to hoard money. Why? He doesn't get a cut of the money. His entire career is based on the Packers being better. So give me a better explanation for why he wouldn't spend money. Let me give you a hint. He went to the podium and told us this was a bad free agent class. He has a lot of money and he's not spending it because there's no one to spend money on. Because there's guys out there like Odenigbo that are terrible and don't actually do anything. And there's too many Packer fans that want him to just do things. Just do things for the sake of doing things. And then when he does things, well, that thing's not good enough. No kidding. We can't get out of that cycle because the only option is to do nothing or to do things that are not good enough. Those are the only two options, aside from, again, maybe the three players that are massively overhyped and were never as good as anybody said they were, which I told you beforehand, and has been evidenced by the contracts that they got. And I'm even surprised by that because I thought these Eagle guys would get massively overpaid because they're coming off a Super Bowl team, and even the NFL is like, nah, they're not that good. But still, Packer fans won't look at it that way. They won't look at it and say, okay, I guess they weren't that good. I guess I get it. I guess it was unlikely that we're going to end up with one of the very few people that are just decent, mediocre starters because there were only about 2 or 3 of them. It sucks, but it is the way that it is. Yeah, I want a DK, but 5 years for a guy his age, that's a bit of a head case. At $30 million a year, it's a little crazy. Devontae kind of would have been cool, but he was never coming here. One of the 2 Eagles guys would have been okay, but they're not actually that good. DJ Reed would have been cool. He went to the Lions. Maybe because the Lions had a better year last year and he wanted to go there because he thought he had a better chance of winning a Super Bowl with the Lions. I don't know why. But to assume that the Packers have to just beat all odds, you have a 9% chance, I expect you to get this done, as though you have a above 50% chance. That's just being unfair.
Prideful to do anything, man. So, hopefully by the time I say this,
well, and again, they did do something. They got 2 things, but it's just not good enough because we don't like it. When other teams sign bad players, we say that they got better. When the Packers sign not very good players, we just say that they didn't do anything. I don't understand that.
By the time it gets played, it'll all change, and I will not be pissed off anymore. But as of right now, I'm pretty pissed off, and we just need to have something happen. So,
well, and again, this is the part where I ask for specifics. Don't just say something needs to happen. There is no magical bag that you can reach your hand in and pull out a guy that's worth $40 million as a pass rusher. You can't just magically, like I said, in Madden, just create a player that has 99 pass rush. What would you like them to do, specifically right now? Tell me a name that would fix this for you. I know Trey Hendrickson, I get it, and I don't think Trey Hendrickson is leaving. I think they're allowing him to test the market. They're going to offer him a contract. He's going to come back. That's what I think is going to happen. Could be wrong. And even if that doesn't happen, understand there are 32 teams competing for him. Let's check the numbers on 1/32. 1 divided by 32, there is a 3% chance they're the ones to land Hendrickson. Right? So when I go into it, I understand that even if he moves, or let's leave that. Let's say it's possible that he leaves. There are 32 teams, including the Cincinnati Bengals and including the Packers. There is a 3% chance that they end up getting them. I am not going to pretend that they have a 60% chance, and if they don't get it, they blew it, because that would be silly and unfair.
I mean, I don't know what to say. Sooner or later, he's going to have to just do something.
Again, you can't just say do something. You can't just say do something, because maybe there's nothing to do. That's the reality. And as of right now, there is literally nothing to do. If you listen to the podcast from today, there's nothing. I went through almost every single person that is available. None of them are interesting. Zero. So all that's left are trades. Now, I don't know what other people might be available via trade. I don't know. But there has been nothing that has happened over the... I mean, again, the DJ Reed to the Lions thing hurt my heart a little bit. I don't think there's been a single other thing where I've seen this person went to that team where I was like, oh no. It's just it's garbage. And there's nothing but garbage left. So do not say just do something, because that's not a solution. That doesn't fix anything. Tell me what you want the Packers to do. Specifically. Not sign somebody, not bring in help. No, specifically. Give me a name. Which person do you want to come in here right now, and how do we get them? It's an exercise to bring you to the point of realizing there's nobody left. There were, again, maybe 3 people that would have been decent, not great players. There were no Max Crosbys in free agency. 0. The top pass rusher got about 50% of what Max Crosby got. Not even close to top tier. Same goes for the top player overall, who was a defensive tackle. Same goes for DJ Reed, who didn't even get top corner money among corners in free agency. So the NFL didn't even agree with my assessment that he was the top guy.
Great. If it only marginally improves us, because everybody's going to be gone, and then we're going to have to rely on the draft, which is
everybody is gone.
So, all right. See you later.
Everybody's gone. I've been trying to prepare people for this for a long time, and I even said, I don't know exactly where, but I said at one point after I heard Gutekunst say that, I said we're setting ourselves up for Packer fans being pissed. Because what's going to happen is they're not going to end up getting anybody because there is nobody, and Packer fans are going to say that Gutekunst failed for not getting anybody, even though he told us that there's nobody there. And exactly what I said was going to happen is happening. And we're setting ourselves up for being disappointed after the draft too, because when you compound the fact that everybody understands that you can only get so much help in the draft, and I guarantee you they're not just going to check a checklist of only getting positions that you think are a need. Of the, 7 picks we have this year, 8 picks, whatever it is, nobody even likes the 3rd round, so we can throw that out. 4th round is probably getting too late, so we have 2 rounds to make 2 picks. Those 2 picks are not going to fix every single need that we have. And that assumes that we even get the 2 positions that everybody wants and 2 players at those positions that everybody likes, as opposed to somebody that people don't like or think is a reach. So there is almost a 0% chance by the time the draft is done that Packer fans aren't just furious that everything isn't fixed. And again, what I will tell you is that there was nobody in free agency or the draft that was going to fix this team. Maybe improve it, absolutely. And that's still the hope, that despite how much people like or dislike the draft picks, that these people do end up coming in and fixing things. I'm hoping that Banks can prove me wrong and be a lot better than I expect him to be. Same with Hobbs, who I don't expect to be super great. I see them as kind of just raise the floor. I don't want to say depth as though they're backups, but depth in terms of, maybe pushing other guys down a little bit so that we have depth from those people, whatever. Raise the floor / depth pieces. I'm hopeful that they can prove me wrong on that. But again, at the end of the day, we have our core pieces, and those core pieces are just going to need to be better. I wish it was a different year. I wish that we had more options. I said I was very optimistic that Gutekunst was going to be aggressive. I didn't realize how bad the free agent class was at that time. And even then, I still thought, well, we mix some trades. They're going to be aggressive, and everybody stayed home. So that went out the window. So there was nothing. Once all those people went away, and you look at, okay, so what does the actual free agent class, not trades, have to offer? There's nothing there. And that's when I started to panic and realize, holy crap, this is a problem. And so I'm upset the way things went, but I'm not going to pretend that it's some kind of a massive flaw that it didn't go the way that we want. Because again, almost nobody actually got better. And just because, Grady Jarrett was good 7 years ago, so I'm going to pretend he's still a good football player, and somebody told me that Odenigbo is a good player, so he's not. And Grady Jarrett is not good. And Dahlman is a good run blocker, he can't pass block. And the one good player the Bears got, one of their guards, is actually very good. He's 32 years old. And the other guy, Jonah Jackson, is not very good. That's why the Lions let him go after 4 years. Bears fans are, the Lions, he was a Pro Bowler with the Lions. He was a Pro Bowler with the Lions. Why'd they let him go after his rookie contract? That's weird. And then he spent 1 year somewhere else and they let him go? Weird for this elite Pro Bowler. I wonder why that's happening. Maybe because he's not actually that good. But of course, what would I know? I just look at PFF all day. Everybody else is a genius. I listened to some offensive line coach who told me that he's a really good football player. Okay, well, I watch reality unfold around me, and I'm telling you that what he's saying makes no sense given the backdrop of reality. I also understand that a lot of these personalities love to just talk about how great everybody is. Just wait until we get to the NFL draft. You know what the NFL draft is? Somebody gets drafted, and then people like Daniel Jeremiah get on there and say, let me tell you, this guy's going to be a starter on day one. And they're going to do that through all 7 rounds. And guess what? Like 5% of them are going to be very good football players. And so, yeah, you hear a lot of, oh, this guy's really good. He's really good at this. Same with Banks and Hobbs. There's people all around doing all that stuff about how great Hobbs is. Oh, man, he's this and he's that. Look, again, I'm hopeful that he can come in and be a serviceable player and can elevate the team to some degree. And I'm hopeful that I'm wrong about Banks. But I think it's silly to pretend that this is going to be some, top 5 guard in the NFL when he's never been that. Coming from a team that was pissed and blamed their entire failure of their offense on the interior offensive line falling apart. So, yeah, I know a lot of people lied and said, oh, there's all these great players and what's his freaking name? Paulson Adebo. Oh, man, Paulson Adebo's so good. The guy played 1 year. He's played 1 year of football. He's been either benched or injured forever. Paulson Adebo? The heck are people talking about Paulson Adebo? But, this is part of the NFL hype machine, and this is what podcasters want to do, and NFL writers and NFL media people, because if they tell you what I'm telling you, it goes against what's good for me. It's better you're going to want to come back and listen if I tell you, oh, man, it's going to be so great and exciting, and everyone's so wonderful, and if we get this, oh, boy. If I tell you, I'm sorry, guys, I just realized this is going to suck. That's not as interesting. It's not as fun. And so that's why nobody does that. But it's the reality. And it's why Gutekunst said it. Like, we're going to try to do what we can, but it's not a very good free agent class, so we'll see how it goes. Everybody didn't get better. The Lions maybe got a tiny bit better at a position they suck at, and they replaced one guy that's a decent starter with another guy that's a decent starter. And as far as the Bears, I mean, look, they got 3 offensive linemen. One of them, again, is a good run blocker, and if they do get Ashton Jeanty, he's probably going to have a little bit more room to run through, and I think it's the left guard. I can't remember exactly who he is. He's 32, but he's still good. So that'll probably be a good thing for them, but let me tell you this. I'm significantly less afraid of what they did at the interior offensive line position this year than what they did at wide receiver last year. 3 interior offensive linemen compared to 3 wide receivers. Significantly more dangerous and accomplished wide receiver. Well, the one was a rookie, but still significantly more scared of that. And Caleb, by the way, add in that, way more terrifying than a 32-year-old guard, a center that can't pass block, and a just other guard that's just not super good at football. He used to be kind of a good run blocker, but not very good at pass blocking. Now he's not super good at either. And for a team that needed help pass blocking for the sake of their quarterback, they went out and got a bunch of run blockers that can't pass block. Yes, I'm terrified at how great they got. Give me a frickin' break.
Hi, Ryan. Here, Chief Benny.
Yo.
Funny how I just called in bitching about Gutekunst not doing anything. He didn't really do what I wanted, but, he did something that I think is good. Getting Aaron Banks.
Oh, there you go. So, all right.
I think it's a good...
So to be fair, a little bit unfair to Bear Cheese, because he called in prior to us not doing anything, which you got to calm down a little bit. This was all day one stuff. I understand that some stuff pops off pretty quick, but you got to give him a little bit of time to do stuff. Aaron Banks didn't take that. It's 3 o'clock you called in, so it was what, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4 hours later? I'd give him a little bit of time.
Oh, man. And to me, this kind of shows you they're probably going to move Jenkins to center.
Yes,
because they've already admitted that, or it's been reported that they're moving on from Josh Myers.
Yeah. And they love Elton Jenkins at center.
The dude, you look at it, look at his stats, man. He's great at protecting the quarterback. Over 1,000.
Well, I got to give you credit, Beer Cheese, because at least you're consistent. Because if everybody else got better, then the Packers did too. So I'm glad that you're happy.
1,000 snaps. He's only given up 1 sack. That's pretty good to me, man. I know, if you look at his grades, he's kind of average, but You know,
He is young, too. It was one of the things I was arguing with Bears fans. I got to stop doing that. Bears fans and I have been getting along, but they've been chirping so much. It's just stupid. And then they start talking about the Packers and everything. It's like, okay, you know what? Stupid. I'm going to back off. But, one of the guys asked me, would you rather have, what the heck is his name? I can't keep talking about him the entire time and not know his name. What is his name? Joe Thuney. Joe Thuney. He said, would you rather have Banks or Joe Thuney? And I said, Joe Thuney, absolutely. However, the guy's 32 years old, so ask me in 2 years who I'd rather have, Banks or Thuney. Because this is probably a 1-year rental, right? Or just ask me next year. I'd probably rather have Banks because he's not going to be around. So yeah, I mean, Thuney's a better player. I don't understand why the Bears, who are a young team on the upswing, I mean, you're aspiring to anyways, continue to get 32-year-olds. I mean, I guess I do understand it because you have a GM that just desperately doesn't want to get fired. But as a Bears fan, that should make you a little bit upset, I would think. Maybe not, because it's at least a 1-year Band-Aid, and you can hopefully address that in the draft. Of course, you never have any draft picks. You gave them all away for this year, and you've already started giving away next year's picks. But at some point, you'll have a pick in your life, and you'll be able to maybe use that on a draft pick and a guard, and can address it. But point is, he's young. And that is also another benefit. The Packers view him as a good fit for what we want to do. And he is a young guy, which the Packers like, rather than these 32-year-olds. Get out of my face with the spam calls. And so they're ready. And I didn't see the contract details, but I saw people react to the contract details. It does not sound like some fluky contract where it's a 1-year deal or anything. This is a legitimate contract offer. He is going to be the guy for the foreseeable future, which, the parallels here between him and Billy Turner, I'm very sad to say, are stark. I think Billy Turner was worse, to be honest. I really do. But whatever. We'll see how it goes. I think he's an upgrade over Josh Myers, and that's essentially what we're talking about right now. Josh Myers, it's offensive line is a weakest link thing. If it's Banks or Sean Ryan or Jordan Morgan that are now our weakest link, then so be it. It's better than Josh Myers.
everything starts in the trenches. Maybe starting with this, right? Getting that out of the way. And then the next thing is D-line. So he better freaking do it. I'm serious, man.
We're back to being pissed again.
Unless we're going to get some crazy draft day trade and everything goes nuts at Lambeau. But I doubt it. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this is a very low. I made fun of what's his name the other day for saying this is your big splash. No, they didn't make a big splash. So stop with your straw man nonsense. Nobody said it was a big splash. We're just slightly raising the floor because we lost people and we have the opportunity to do that, and that's what we did. Right? That's really what I mean. This is not to say this isn't going to be like a long-term starter, because that's how the Packers view him. But nobody called it a big splash. He's a guard. I mean, I don't know how big of a splash a guard can be. And I guess he is relatively high paid, but I mean, this is not, let's just put it this way. If this was a different free agent class, no, this would not be the intention of the big splash. It's just nothing else to do. I don't know how else to say that. All right, take a break. We got more Garrett.
Well, Green Bay signs Aaron Banks to guard. That means only a couple of options. Jenkins to center or Tom to center, and I'm thinking it'll be Elton Jenkins going to center. You can take that to the bank.
I
think Myers is gone, and we'll have a solidified offensive line, so I think we're going to be drafting pretty heavy on defense.
Yeah.
And wide receiver. Let's go, Goody.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of my big takeaway here is defensive line just became a massive priority. I think a lot of people would really hope that wide receiver is still a big priority. I think, knowing the Packers, they probably are looking at it going, eh. I mean, they'll probably want to address it, but in terms of abject panic and desperation, I would really doubt it's anywhere near the level that defensive line is right now. I mean, it's not going to be even close to that. So, but the draft goes the way that it goes. I do think there are probably enough defensive linemen for the Packers to be pretty excited about that. But I don't know. We'll just have to see how that goes. That would be my assumption coming into this beforehand was probably like defensive tackle. This obviously has not dissuaded me at all, with the one caveat that I was very hopeful that we would do something along the edge, which again was completely dismantled by every frickin' edge rusher that could have been traded deciding to stay home. But the need at defensive line as a whole, defensive tackle and edge, we did something at corner, not much, but probably enough for the Packers to say, okay, I guess that's good enough for now. Something at offensive line, so we don't have to panic pick there. Now they can kind of do whatever, but I still think there's got to be a level of panic along the defensive line. But we'll see. We'll see. The Packers are going to be stubborn in what they do. And if they come across somebody that they like more, that they, I can't imagine what else it would be outside of one of the premier positions we need. Could be corner, could be wide receiver. I doubt it, but maybe. I just very much struggle to see a scenario where the first round pick isn't someone on the defensive line. It's possible, right? If Teteroa McMillan does fall, maybe. If they're in love with a corner that's there, or if what's his name out of Michigan, the Will Johnson or whatever, if he falls or gets within striking distance, maybe they go that route. But there's just a lot of defensive line pieces that are probably going to fall. Even if you look at that core group in the teens, there's still guys like Iziro Aku or whatever that are seen as more late first, early second round guys that the Packers would probably easily pull the trigger on. So, yeah, I think you're right. It's going to be defense heavy and probably defensive line.
Hello, Ryan.
Hello.
I don't know why I said it like that. I'm tired of it. Anyways, so at the end of free agency of day one, unless in the last 45 minutes since I've been driving home from work, another signing happened. This might just be the most Brian Gutekunst stereotypical free agency pretty much ever. I think that he probably saw Elton Jenkins as a better prospect than whoever was there available in free agency. So he just said, hey, you know what? Let's go sign the best guard out there that I can find and move Elton over to the center. I don't know anything about this Hobbs dude, but, I'm okay with it. From the sound of it right now, I don't think that they have many intentions of moving Jair, and which is also fair because who is better than Jair in free agency if Jair is healthy? I don't know. But yeah, it's in a kind of lackluster, plain vanilla-y free agency class. It makes sense that we didn't really make any major signings and whatever. There's a lot of teams that I see see what some of the players are making, and it's like, holy cow, I would not have paid that. Like DK.
Yeah.
For example, I think Devontae was out because he probably all along wanted to go to the West Coast. That was probably one of his big things that he wanted to do. So I don't know. But I don't know. All in all, I'm happy with free agency, how it's going so far. The Bears are going absolutely ape crap as far as signing offensive linemen. But hey, that's going to solve Caleb Williams holding onto the ball for 30 seconds issue for sure. Yeah. Good job, Bears. You're winning the offseason.
Go figure.
But we'll see how this all goes. Anyways, I'm out coming up on 3 minutes. We'll see how it goes from here on out. Bye.
Yeah, again, I don't know if I would say this is a prototypical Gutekunst year because it's not a prototypical anybody year. Again, I've never seen a team What are the now that we have the other contract in? I'm just curious how much money they're projecting us with. Yeah, $32 million. The Packers are sitting here with $32 million. And there's almost no prospect of them spending that pending some major trade. And even if they trade for Trey Hendrickson, they're not going to spend a fraction of that. Because if Trey Hendrickson were to get, let's say, $30 million, which I don't know if he does. I mean, $40 million is kind of top of market, but remember, he's 30 years old. But even if he gets $30 million, they're not going to pay anywhere near that. He might get maybe $15 million, which I guess will put him down to, what, $17 million or something? I don't know what it would be down to, but I've never seen anything quite like this, and I'm curious how many teams right now. There's got to be a bunch of teams that are just loaded with money right now. Let me just look at something here. Yeah, Packers are middle. I would say they're actually lower than the average. They have them here with effective cap space at $29 million, with most teams being higher than that. Let's see. 2 teams are negative. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams have less than $10 million. 2 teams are between 10 and 20, Saints and Bears. Everybody else is 20 or higher. You got Rams, Eagles, Giants, Packers, Broncos, which again, depending on, effective cap space, they have at 29. Commanders, Chiefs, Bengals, Panthers, Jets, Raiders, 49ers, Jaguars in the 30s. The Vikings are in the 40s. Cowboys, Lions, Seahawks are in the 50s. Steelers, why is that not sorted correctly? Dang it. Cowboys and Lions and Seahawks, Titans in the 50s. Steelers, Cardinals in the 60s. Chargers have $78 million. Patriots have $93 million. And free agency is basically over. I mean, you want to know why the Packers couldn't compete with these? Like the Patriots did a ton of stuff. They overpaid a bunch of people and have almost $100 million in cap space left. And the Packers have more money than I've ever seen them have basically at the end of free agency. Again, it's not over, but there's nobody that you can sign that's worth a freaking bagel. Again, pending some kind of big trade. And look, I hate for this to just be an overly negative thing, but at this point, with however many needs they have, do you give away a bunch of draft compensation for one guy that's only going to be here for a year or two? Are we one player away right now? We didn't get any wide receivers, no defensive tackles, no real big upgrade on offensive line, no corners. We need all these things. We're not going to be able to get them all in the draft. You're going to get a 30-year-old edge rusher and give away your future because what? We're going to win in the next year or two? I mean, maybe, but I don't know that Trey Hendrickson makes that big of a difference. I don't know if it makes sense at this point. I think we'd rather have the picks. There's an argument to be made that we need to focus on trading Jair for any amount that we can get. If it's a 6th-round pick or something, go ahead and get it. Just load up on as many picks as we can possibly get. We're not going to get like any comp picks next year because none of our free agents left for any amount of money, unless some weird fluky thing with Josh Myers or A.J. Dillon happens. But it's probably not going to happen. We need to focus on just continuing building and probably not focus on a 30-year-old pass rusher. There was a scenario where maybe that made sense. At this point, I don't know that that's my priority. Still be happy if we do it, but I'm looking at it going, man, we have quite a few problems here. And, if you want to go after a guy like Max Crosby, that's fine because he's going to be around longer. But guys like, Trey Hendrickson or Khalil Mack, even when he was available, I don't know. I don't know at this point how much sense that makes when you're talking about giving up a ton of compensation. So then he's gone in 2 years, and we lose all those picks. So we lose all those players that would have been here. Even if you're gonna have this overly pessimistic, stupid attitude that they would have been bad picks anyways, which is just dumb. They would have been players that were on the team, which Trey Hendrickson is not going to be in a couple of years. Maybe, probably, I don't know. So it is becoming a serious question for me how much I even really want the guy at this point. It'd be awesome, and it's possible that, we get that, and then we get a couple slam dunks in the draft and end up being some premier team, assuming that, guys like Jordan, again, have much better seasons. But I'm just more skeptical maybe now. All right, I'm going to leave you with that. I'm going to get up out of here. You guys have a good rest of your night. Talk to you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye-bye.